My name is Jenny Rocket, and I'm with the ASEAN 2017's Media Affairs and Strategic Communications team. I am very pleased to have all of you join us for our very first press briefing with the Acting Department of Foreign Affairs spokesperson, Mr. Robespierre Bolivar. Mr. Bolivar will tell us about the meeting on the Committee of Permanent Representatives to ASEAN, which was held at PICC earlier today. Very briefly, Mr. Bolivar has led Philippine delegations to several ASEAN Regional Forum meetings. He served as Deputy Chief of Mission and Consul General at the Philippine Mission to the European Union and Philippine Embassy to Belgium and Luxembourg, where he worked on Philippines-European bilateral issues. Aside from DFA spokesperson, he is the officer in charge of the Office of the Undersecretary for Policy. I am pleased to welcome Mr. Robespierre Bolivar.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for the warm welcome. I don't really have a very long opening statement, but just to say that we wish to thank the members of the press for helping us out in organizing this summit in terms of publicizing, the thematic priorities of ASEAN, of our ASEAN chairmanship, and. We have started the formal meetings today. As we speak, the Committee of Permanent Representatives is meeting at the PICC. The basic task of CPR is to prepare the groundwork for the summit on Saturday. So anything that needs to be ironed out will have to be ironed out at the CPR. Tomorrow we are expecting the senior officials to meet. And on Friday, the ministerial meeting will take place, all at PICC. And all of these are preparatory to the summit. So with that, I guess we can open the floor to any questions you might have. Yeah, Ron. Sorry.
Evening, sir. Ron.
Please state your name and affiliation, please.
Ron Kalunsod, Kyodo News. Sir, there have been releases today about the draft chairman's statement, and there was no mention of apparently the arbitral ruling. I'd like to ask is it in the national interest of the Philippines not to raise the arbitral ruling and seek a unified stand from ASEAN to ask China to comply with the ruling at a time that we are chairing this 50th anniversary commemoration of ASEAN? Sir, thank you.
Thank you, Ron. First and foremost, we have to understand that the chairman's statement is in a draft form. It's evolving, and over the next couple of days, it will evolve more quickly because we need to have it finalized by the time the leaders meet on Saturday. And the final version will be issued, of course, after the leaders meet on Saturday. So it's still too early to tell what the chairman's statement will look like. So I guess that's to answer your question.
Can you answer the question about is it the national interest of the Philippines whether we don't mention the arbitral ruling in this summit? So.
The President has stated on a number of occasions that the Philippines will not stray from the four corners of the arbitral ruling and that he will raise it at the proper time. So we leave it up to the President to judge when that proper time is.
Sir, good evening. Christian Esguerra from ABS-CBN. But can the Philippines, as chairman of ASEAN, pull this off, meaning steer the discussion successfully toward a framework, at least, even without mention of the arbitral ruling?
Thank you, Christian. The framework is a work in progress. We've had 2 meetings. We have a couple of more meetings scheduled throughout the year. As I mentioned at a press conference the other day, ASEAN and China have a commitment to finish the framework by mid-2017. Of course, we as the Philippines were very hopeful that that will be finished by mid-2017. But at the very least, within our chairmanship year, we hope that the framework of the Code of Conduct will be finished by 2017.
But you can do that even without the arbitral ruling being part of the discussion.
The delegations have proposed elements that they want to see in a framework, in a final framework. And it's still too early to tell, too early to discuss how that framework will look like.
And finally, sir, based on the preliminary discussions, how contentious was the issue of militarization in the area, in the disputed area, and how likely will ASEAN issue a statement, a stronger statement against militarization compared to the previous one that you had in Laos last year?
You mean contentious, meaning where, in which
Yung
context?
militarization. Can we expect a stronger statement coming from ASEAN?
Well, again, all of these statements are works in progress, so we cannot really say until we see the final statement.
Good evening. Sir, Mikael Flores of Nikkei. Sir, in the draft statement, there was a title or a heading about the tensions in the Korean Peninsula, but there was no draft statement or text. Or why is that, po?
Again, we can't really say for certain how the statement will eventually look like. Only after it's issued can we really dissect, what is in the statement or what is not in the statement. So we'll have to wait until Saturday.
Sir, just a follow-up on the framework. You mentioned the delegation have proposed elements that they want to see in the final framework. Does the Philippines, does the arbitral rule, is the arbitral ruling one of the elements that the Philippines is pushing for in the final framework?
Because of the nature of the discussions right now, we can't really go into the details of what elements have been proposed and how the discussions are shaping up.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm JC Gotinga of CNN Philippines. Sir, can you describe for us the process of coming up with this statement? Because, so apparently, may draft na siya even before dumating yung summit. So it's not something that they draft right there and then. It's been in the works prior. So if you can let us in a little bit on that process.
Okay, thank you, JC. As you can imagine, we can't really come up with a long statement, a chairman's statement, to encapsulate the entire breadth of the discussions in a couple of hours. So there's usually some sort of an outline that is prepared, some elements, some key elements that pertain to issues which are normally discussed during these kinds of meetings, during summits and ministerials. And it's usually the role of the chair in consultation with the ASEAN Secretariat to prepare such a draft and over the course of the days leading up to the summit, to consider the comments, the views of the other ASEAN member states, to try to come up with a statement that really encapsulates the consensus of ASEAN.
Just to follow up, does the Office of the President and the DFA work together to put that together? Or is it more the Office of the President, or is it more the DFA?
Yes, it's for at least for now, for our chairmanship, it's an interagency effort, because the chairman's statement will not just deal with political issues, it will deal with the whole breadth of ASEAN community building issues.
During the PPR discussions today, has there been any expression from the other claimants of a desire to address the body with the arbitration ruling? Say, has Vietnam expressed a desire to raise the
The CPR meeting is still ongoing, so we really can't go into that. But just to give you some sort of a context, the Committee of Permanent Representatives usually tackles the more technical aspects of the work of ASEAN. So the economic cooperation, in the political sense, any agreements that might come into play. So it's more technical. We will be having more of the political meetings in the coming 2 days prior to the summit.
Good afternoon. I'm Jonah from Asahi
Hi, Jonah.
Shimbun. Do we expect Myanmar to give a briefing on what's been happening with the Rohingya?
The leaders will be discussing issues of regional and international concern. So I'll leave it at that.
Will we ask Myanmar to give us a briefing about on what's been happening in the Rakhine State?
As chairman, the role of the president is really to make sure that all ASEAN member states are able to state their positions, to have a candid, free-flow discussion, and to basically summarize the entire discussions. So if any of the member states would raise that, then I would think there will be discussions.
Sorry, one last, sir.
Sure.
Has there been any indication from the other member states that they want the Philippines to give them a briefing on what's been happening in the Philippines in terms of the homicides that, it's attracted a lot of attention in the international arena?
Not that I know of.
Sir, good evening. I'm JP
Good evening.
Soriano from
Hi, JP.
GMA News. Sir, may I just go back briefly again to the arbitration ruling. Without the inclusion of the arbitration ruling in the chairman's statement, assuming it will or it will not be included, we would just like to get your reaction, because some analysts said that for sure the Philippines will, and its chairmanship will be criticized, and some will see it as a weakness. So may we just get your perhaps your statement or your reaction to that?
Well, it's a bit of a hypothetical scenario. And again, we cannot really say what comes out of the chairman's statement until we actually see it. So maybe we can talk about it then when the actual chairman's statement is issued. Thank you.
Sir, good evening. I'm MJ Mondihar from SMNI News Channel.
Good evening.
Sir, anong mga kasunduan, sir, that we're expecting that can be signed during the summit?
We're hoping po na magkakaroon tayo ng mga malalaking outcome documents during the chairmanship year, not necessarily sa Sabado. Ginagawa pa po, pinaplansya pa po lahat ng mga bagay patungkol dito sa mga kasunduan na ito. So, ang hope natin, basta within 2017, mailabas natin yung 2 or 3 na malalaking kasunduan or declarations. Sorry? Well, ang isa na po doon yung framework, of course, of the Code of Conduct. Ninanais natin na mailabas siya during our chairmanship in 2017. That would be a really big milestone.
Sir, good afternoon. My name is Cliff Benzon from
Hi,
UK. With regard to the draft chairman statement, by leaving the portion on the North Korean peninsula blank, is the Philippines or President Duterte giving his counterparts kumbaga a free hand to discuss the issue, or does ASEAN believe that the North Korean issue, the Korean Peninsula issue is so volatile that it can change in the coming days?
Yung pong statement, again, it evolves very quickly, especially since we are 2-3 days away from the summit. So we don't really know what the contents are right now of the chairman's statement, because it's evolving very quickly over the course of the few days.
Yeah, but the other parts have text. They have portions written on them. So why are we leaving the portion on the Korean Peninsula blank? What is the reason why there are no inputs at this point?
I cannot really go into that. But again, just to reiterate that we take into account all the views of the ASEAN member states, and that the chairman's statement, the draft of the statement, evolves quite quickly, especially in the lead up to the summit.
Good evening, Sir. Rose Cos of
Good evening.
UNTV. Sir, tanong ko lang po, is there a cause of concern sa timing po ng political noise sa Pilipinas ngayon? For example, yun pong camp ni Bato ay nag-file ng complaint against the President before the ICC, and yesterday po ay may editorial po ang New York Times against the President. So, is there a need to explain to our counterparts regarding these happenings po?
Si Presidente po, prior to chairing the summit, he went the rounds of the ASEAN member states. Traditional po yun, to introduce himself and to build rapport. And ang masasabi ko po is that there's an excellent rapport between the President and the other ASEAN leaders. And I'm sure that rapport will help ensure the success of his chairmanship. So, hindi po natin masasabi whether any of the ASEAN leaders would raise any domestic issues. Of course, we have a principle of non-interference in internal affairs. But again, I cannot preempt what the other leaders would ask during the summit itself or in side meetings.
Sa panig po ng pamahalaan, meron po ba kayong panawagan sa mga kampong hindi po, sa opposite camp, para po maging masiguro lang po natin na magiging matagumpay po yung atin pong event. For example, dun po sa mga nagkikriticize sa atin pong pamahalaan.
Siguro po ang mensahe lang natin, yung chairmanship natin, this is a whole-of-nation effort. So anything, whether you think it's big or small, that you can contribute to the success of the chairmanship, will be most welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, any significant announcement or improvements or negotiations that will be tackled tomorrow between Brunei and the Philippines during the bilateral meeting between the President and the Sultan that you can share?
We have issues of common concern. So, unang-una po, transboundary issues. Of course, peace and security in the region is a common concern. And the welfare of Filipinos in Brunei. The President has raised this during his state visit to Brunei, thanking His Majesty and the Brunei government for the great treatment of Filipinos in Brunei. So, maaari din pong mapag-usapan ulit yun, magpasalamat si Presidente, and then maybe come up with some cooperative arrangements for to enhance the relationship between Brunei and the Philippines.
Sir, good afternoon. Regarding the framework, have all 9 member states, of ASEAN signed on already on the framework, or is there still any holdout among the other members?
The framework is still a work in process, but definitely all 10 ASEAN member states and China have expressed commitment to finish the framework. And they have even set the mid-2017 as an ideal target. Yeah, one more. Sure.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon.
Okay,
I am Makaray from AFP. Sir, could you give us a preview of discussions on security issues, particularly the Abu Sayyaf in the run-up to the summit? There has been that foiled attack on Bohol and several fightings ongoing now in the country, even in Lanao. Any more details on what could be possibly discussed, and even on the sidelines, possibly trilateral discussions among the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia on sea jacking in the Sulu Sea? Thank you.
The leaders will be discussing issues of regional and international concern. Of course, it's a summit, so the leaders are free to raise issues that they believe should be discussed within the ASEAN context. As for discussions at the sidelines, say during a coffee break, Of course, we cannot say what each leader will bring up with President Duterte or with each other.
Thank you. I just want to ask how big a concern for the Philippines is North Korea, and could you discuss how concerned the Philippines is about North Korea and how big a priority it should be during the discussions this weekend?
Well, definitely, North Korea is in our region, and we have 58,000 plus Filipinos in South Korea. Couple of Filipinos in the DPRK. So it is definitely an issue of concern for the Philippine government, and we are closely monitoring the situation that is developing in the Korean Peninsula.
Would it be in our interest for ASEAN to come out with a separate statement expressing the grouping's concern over the North Korean situation?
ASEAN has come up in the last couple of months with two statements of concern calling on the North to abide by its commitments under UN Security Council resolutions. So the ASEAN has collectively expressed its concern over the developments in the Korean Peninsula.
Is there a need for a third one during the meeting that the Philippines is hosting?
It would depend on the developments on the Korean Peninsula.
Thank you, Mr. Bolivar. Before I end the press briefing, I'd just like to let you know that we have food at the Brasserie in China Blue. So do pass by those two restaurants for your meals. And with that, let me thank Mr. Bolivar again for joining us and for all of you for being here. And that ends today's press briefing.